All right. So thank you again, Voxton, for showing up. This is just going to be an intro on muzzle run. So pretty much just bare minimum or bare of the intro, and just kind of breaking down in segments. So the next one would probably be like markets or something. I have to figure that out.
Okay.
Anyways, how long did it take you to learn all of this?
So I got started around December 14th, and I picked a lot of brains when I first started. I won like my first big race early January. Um, I try to absorb information as much as I can and deep dive data. So it probably took about 2 weeks before I won my first 100 or so Matic.
Oh
The
wow.
first big wins came towards the mid to end of January. By then, I was around 2,000 ish Matic in earnings. And then my common from
2000?
common, yeah. And then my common
Wow.
from common was a 2,500 Matic win, and that was in February.
Oh. Gee, and you just started in November, no? You said?
I started into photo finish in November. Horse racing got a little bit expensive for my blood because my horses were a little bit on the lower end, a couple of B grade, B plus grade, and then I had one A grade racing stud, and kind of got really expensive when the crown grants kind of shifted. And so I stumbled on the muzzle run because I had a friend tell me about greyhound racing, and I ran into a video by MJ Informatics that was showing the OpenSea marketplace and that you could hop in with a racer for as low as 5 Matic. And so it's like, oh, cool. That, like that's a small amount to get in the door. Went and signed up on the Discord, and a very welcoming community gave us, both me and my wife, just a couple of decent dogs apiece. So we had no initial investment to start learning the game with some racers. The community is great for that, for any new players that hop in the front door. They love new racers to fill races and start learning the mechanics. And it was literally off to the races after that.
Oh wow. Yeah. Wait. So from the initial start until you made that 100, what was that time in between?
It was about 2 weeks or so.
Wow. And I think I've already been 2 weeks and I still haven't made that.
There's a lot of deep diving on it. Now, things were a little bit different back then because they had free to enter sit and goes through the streamer
Um.
portal. So a lot of the streamers would host free to enter sit and goes. And I started kind of learning where to put my dogs in. And I pulled a spotty hound in December. They're only available in December, that I trained up
Oh
in
yeah.
January, and that was where I got my first finals when I was racing in the Group 3. Didn't hardly know what I was doing, but I had a partially configured dog because I'd ran it in a lot of free races to figure it out. Didn't win the finals, but I ended up getting a decent little chunk. I think it was a grand total of like 150 Matic is where I placed in that one.
And that was a free entry?
That one was a free entry because every month they run majors, and the majors are cut into classes. So they have a Group 3 major, they have a Group 2 major, they have G1 trials where Group 2 dogs can compete to move up into Group 1. And it costs experience to enter those races. Experience is gained through training your hounds.
Okay.
Every time you train your hound, you get a little bit of XP, and 10 XP is the cost to enter any of those major races. So there's no actual Matic fees. At the time, everything was Matic. Froth hadn't launched their ICO yet. That's something that they did on New Year's. So leading up to New Year's Day, they launched the initial coin offering for Froth token, and now that's the race fees are all in Froth. At the time, they were Matic entry, but I was like, you know what? Only cost experience. I had a little bit from training my dogs, so I think I put 3 dogs or 2 dogs. I think it was 2 dogs at the time that I had trained to start learning into that Group 3 race. So it cost me 20 experience and 2 rabbits to enter, and one of them ended up making the finals. Now, if he would have gone on to win those finals instead of just a low placement, I would have ended up winning. I believe the grand prize at the time was 2,500 Matic. But I didn't quite place high enough for the big juicy pot. I did, however, get high enough in the list of the 8 finalists in the final race to get, I believe it was 150 Matic prize at the time.
Wow. And that, but that was only open during December, or around that time, right?
Those run
For the
every month. So
oh,
the minting for the spotties happen in December, but every single month there's a Group 3 race. It's actually currently running right now. It runs earlier than the Group 1 trials do. So any hound that's made it into Group 3 can enter with experience in that mid part of the month every month, early to mid part, and compete in those Group 3 trials. I've got about 10 dogs competing in this one, and it's one race per day. The race runs for a full week. And at the end of that week, they do a live draw for the conditions of that final, and you just got to make it to the finals, and then hope your hound gets conditions drawn for it that it'll perform on, because it's completely random how the final conditions get drawn: distance, weather, and surface.
oh well. Okay, we're gonna have to. You're gonna have to show me that here in a bit. But oh yeah, can you
Yeah.
send me your what is it? Your um, what is it? Referral link?
Oh yes, one moment.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, when I first jumped into your stream, listening to that, all the information that you're giving out, I was just like, oh no,
There's a
oh
lot to
man.
it, but I'm always happy to repeat it. I
Yeah.
onboard a lot of kennels, and I spend a lot of time with any kennels that I onboard. I'm always there to answer any questions and help them along in their journeys. I don't hoard information, and I don't try to bogart any secrets that I utilize. And a lot of people get mad at me for that. They say I
Hmm.
should be selling my info or not sharing it because it kind of gives more juice to the competition.
Hmm.
But I don't mind when it's, more difficult to run or a more even playing field. Some people think I'm crazy with some of my theories. Some people think that my theories are gold. Some of them have been quantified through data over
Yeah.
time. So it's been a fun journey since I began. But yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, you sound believable when you speak, so I'm just kind of
Well,
following along.
even
Okay.
even Les, the creator of the games, come back and said he loves hearing a lot of my theories as well, because the way that the amount of complexity into programming these dogs was very
Hmm.
unpredictable to see how everything translates in the long run. And so he kind of loves my deep dive theories, because when it correlates to how the dogs have actually started to pan out on the tracks, it gives him a little bit of justification at the skill level and the complexity of the game that he built. So I'm really excited for the football, because that's going to be that times 11, because you're managing a whole team. So
And that's going to be a deep dive also. I've never been really into
it's going
soccer,
to
so
it'll be a deep dive on every single player, but you have to
uh,
figure out where their ideal positions are. You have to train them,
oh
learn
wow.
how to train them best, where they belong on the field in formation. So there's a whole lot of complexity. It's going to be basically Greyhounds times 11, because all 11 players have to compete in order to win those matches.
Hello. Oh, there you go. I'm assuming you like sports then, right?
Big sports fan, not a big soccer, football fan. I played it when I
Mm.
was younger. I like American football. That's my favorite. Basketball's fun to watch. I like the more exciting sports to watch, football or soccer. I call
Uh,
it soccer, but I get corrected a lot in the community because it's an international game. But soccer just takes so long. You spend 3 hours watching a ball get kicked up and down the field just to maybe
mhm.
watch 3 or 4 goals in that 3 hour period. Not really my cup of tea. If I'm going to watch a game like that, I'd rather watch hockey where a fight can break out every 5 minutes.
But why would they go with soccer? I know there's another one. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's football. I think it's footium.
Footium? Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
Footium. They're really not. So Footium has a larger player base. They're backed by a professional
Hmm.
soccer player. They went with soccer initially just because it is like the international sport. So it's the most like globally followed sport.
Hmm.
So there's fans just about in every single country out there. And so it's just the first of many sports games under the Muzzle Sports
Hmm.
ecosystem. They plan on utilizing the froth token amongst all of the soccer or all of the different sports titles. And
Huh.
soccer is just the very first one they're doing. They've been talking about doing cricket, professional wrestling, like WWE style wrestling,
Oh wow.
American football, uh, Baseball's been in the discussion, basketball, pretty much any competitive sport. And there's even been discussions for bringing other types of games into the ecosystem as well, like MMORPGs or even shooter games.
Oh, that would be interesting. I think I'd do the shooter. Not really a sports guy, or not even racing, but for some reason I just kind of got on, went along with the wagon and just started finding all these different racing games all of a sudden.
Yeah, it feels like racing was kind of the spear tip
Yeah.
for the blockchain, Web3, betting, and breeding kind of ecosystem.
Hmm.
I'm very new to the whole Web3 world. I kind of slept on gaming for a long time. I was a professional FPS gamer for a while. I've been in MMORPGs since the dawn of MMOs and just kind of got out of the whole gaming world for a very long time. And a good friend of mine made a large footing, very established in photo finish. And I thought he was just playing a horse racing game like on Steam and had commented, yeah, it looks really, really neat. It's cool that you get so much, game money. He was like, whoa, this is real money. And I was like, wait, what? And when we got on a phone call, talked for about 4 hours, and he
Oh
shared
wow.
with me his journey into photo finish, and he's got one of the bigger kennels in the game, and he is kind of the voice of photo finish. He does a lot of the broadcasting. He broadcasts all of the photo finish Kentucky Derbies, like the virtual Kentucky Derbies. And
Mm.
so he kind of brought me into the whole Web3 space by bringing me up to hey, there's a whole world where you can earn and win cryptocurrencies just through gaming. And as a professional gamer that was kind of out of the seat for a long time, that immediately appealed to my gaming nature of, wow, I can actually prove my parents wrong that all the video games I've played my whole life is actually going to earn me money. So I started diving in November, and I've made a pretty big splash in this short time since being in the space, and plan on making an even bigger wave, in the future.
Yeah, you said you came in November, so yeah, that's pretty fast. I've been in this space like since 2021,
I
and I
came
just
in with
started.
about $100 initial investment, and current holdings to date is around 170,000 US dollars in various cryptos and NFT holdings. So I'm doing
Wow.
okay, and I hope to turn that into a million plus by the end of the year.
Nice. With that's just all from gains from your initial
All
100?
from
No way.
Yeah, yeah, all
Oh
from I
wow.
started with photo finish, and then I put in some initial money investments into Muzzle Run,
Yeah.
made some really nice returns in that. Between my wife and I, we're at right around 8,000 Matic in just race winnings, and we
Yeah.
try to do more strategic racing, so we're not paying a large out-of-pocket fee for race entry fees. We
Mm-hmm.
try not to lose races, and we're very particular on which races we decide to enter. And then we have, our affiliate earnings and different growth mechanics for getting returns on affiliate spending and things like that.
Yeah.
We have leveraged some high-end breeders in muzzle runs, so we can sell, racer rips from breeders that are ideal to mint from, so you can get those higher caliber racers.
Yeah.
And then I leveraged entries into the football game by buying early mints into like the pre-mints for the football teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I won the stadium, which was valued at 100,000 Matic, and also got 3 corporate boxes that are valued at 10,000 a piece. And I actually gave 2 of those away just because I like to give back. I'm not a greedy person. I try to stack my investments and build for me, but I also like to show love to those who've shown me love
Mm-hmm.
in those initial growing stages. Yeah, it's been a fun journey.
It's like those what is it, newcomer packs that you were giving out?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because I remember receiving that. I didn't
yeah,
know if that was
and
like a
they're
thing that just people do, or or is it that you
those are
just came
part
up
of
with?
the onboarding through the streamer portals. They get these
Mhm.
welcome packs. So anybody who affiliates underneath one of the streamers that do
Yeah.
live broadcasting, we're able to kind of help grease the wheels on the newcomers and get them some rabbits and training credits. And then we usually do like kickbacks. There's a lot of bigger players like Sydney Cove, who was able to give you 2 high-end G4 racers. We try to give out as much as we can. I've given out hundreds of racers to onboarded players. The kennel just runs a little bit dry sometimes because we don't do a
Mhm.
lot of in-house breeding until we need to pull for specific types of racers.
Yeah, I need to get into the habit of not just trying to race any. Well, this is for other games like Chicken Derby, for example. Just kind of racing because it's available. But is it strategic? Am I actually, planning it out, or am I just, oh, here's an open race, let me just throw it in there? So I need to be careful before I start doing paid races for Muzzle Run.
One of the things that drew me to muzzle run over my time in photo finish, I got to the point where I knew that my horses weren't quite competitive enough to be paying for every single race to get the data on them. And so I started turning profits that I reinvested into other projects through just placing picks on their picks. I was able to deep dive data on the horses, compare races by using the charts, and place some strategic picks on the tournaments that would run, and made some pretty solid ones, returned a few $100s worth of their crown, or their derby, their derby. And I used that to cash out and leverage other investments. And it just got too expensive for me to race personally. And I didn't have a filly worth focusing on breeding yet. And so I do plan on revisiting photo finish after I've kind of established my empire to the point where I can come back and invest properly in some of the horses that I've scoped out and done the deep dive data on what makes them quality runners or quality breeders. And so I'm kind of on my building journey. I still have holdings in photo finish. I'm involved in about 6 different crypto projects, all of which I anticipate having muzzle run level returns. I try to find unique ones that have low cost entry points that have high yield longevity returns.
Well, as long as you're not having to pull out funds from yourself, constantly, if you're having to reinvest with all the winnings that you're getting, especially, and then you can just spread them out. That's the dream for most people, I would assume, right? Not having to pull out of their own money.
Exactly. Yeah, I've just, like I said, initial $100, and everything else has been reinvested winnings and earnings into other crypto projects. And I've leveraged some pretty strong holdings in projects that are really sparking and taking off in big ways. I try to share that info. Anytime I find one that I find worthy enough to invest in, I'll usually tell everybody that I know, hey, this is a good looking project because of X, Y, Z. And quite a few people trust my judgment in the short time I've been in the space that that's all they need to be like, okay, cool, I will go and invest right now.
Let me see 1 second here. Okay. Okay. Just in case, anything else about yourself? This is kind of like the intro window here before we start here.
Probably way too much to say. 10-year Air Force veteran. I was a trained conductor for 8 years. I'm a Twitch partner. I've got a bachelor's degree in cinematography, and I was a voice actor for about 12 years on radio commercials. I'm a father and a husband. Do a little of everything.
Yeah. You have a nice voice. Have you done the? Well, you were doing the intro for, or not the intro, but the what do you call it, from when the dogs or the hounds start racing? What is that? What is that called when
Well,
you're
I do a lot of
announcing the
race
positions?
calling. Yeah, I do race calling. I got a little bit into the race calling the horses, and that's kind of where I started to get the methods for calling races in an exciting way. And every once in a while, when I get in the mood when I'm watching the tournaments I put on, I'll get in that calling spirit and make it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. All right. So use your referral link, and then do they have to be on stream, or how would they be able to contact you if they were able to receive a like a beginner's pack, or how did you call them?
The welcome packs,
Pack.
so all they would do is use a referral link from either me or any of the other streamers. And one of the requirements is that we have to be live when we send those packs out. So after registration, you just pop over to the stream when one of the streamers go live, and then you can receive that welcome pack from the streamer that referred you. So anybody that sends out that welcome kit, we have to be live at the time. So you just pop in, and your first stream when you're in, you're like, hey, I'm kennel XYZ, whatever you decide to name your kennel.
Yep.
And I just registered with your affiliate link, and I get a welcome kit. And then we send it out and do everything else we can do to get you squared away for that. There's new features coming. We don't have the details yet, but there's a streamer wars feature coming that's going to feature some races and some prizes based on, the activity of those people that you refer. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to motivate a lot of the people doing the referring to spend more time with their affiliate referees to help get them prepared to race.
Oh, perfect. Well, since I fell under you, I'm
You got
gonna need
a
that
great
assistance.
coach that I'm going to definitely be helping
Yeah.
you out, because when you win, I win, and everybody's happy.
Okay, so we're looking at the front page here. You put your little icon name. You already have your stable or kennel name, and then you link a wallet. You can unlink it. You said before, right? And then
You can change your wallet. So
yeah.
if you ever have to, I actually had to change my address once. I was new to the crypto world and registered for too many airdrops and ended up getting drained for 700 Matic. So I did have to scramble and move everything over to a new address. Luckily, they didn't touch any of the NFTs. They just got a chunk of money. And I was able to move everything to a new wallet and then reattach a new address. So you can change the wallet address.
Okay, that's good because I know I had that issue starting out. Okay, so I guess kind of break it down. What am I looking at here?
So you're on your kennel page, and this is where you're going to see all of your various assets within the Muzzle Run ecosystem. The breeders tab, when you acquire any breeders, which are used for minting racers, will follow under the breeders category.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't own any, there are websites like thebreedersden.com, just as it sounds, thebreedersden.com. And they host a large chunk of the available breeders in the game that they've actually minted and amassed. And they also have the ability for outside kennels to send their breeders there so that people can mint from other owned breeders for minting costs. There's also most of the streamers that do live have acquired their own chunks of breeders that are worth breeding from, and they'll offer breeding services of their breeders while live. The benefits to that is most of us have acquired all of the different utility breeders, which are breeders of different generations that do different functions. And we will be able to use those breeders for the newer kennels that haven't gone and acquired those breeders on the secondhand markets, or maybe just want to race, and then they can breed from them and still gain access to those utilities.
Okay. And how much
And
is
then
that?
as far as breeding goes, most of us just charge the flat rate breeding cost of 15 Matic per racer.
Okay.
A breeder, to mint a breeder, is 100 Matic, and then you would own your own breeder of varying rarities. There is a limited quantity of each breeder in the pool of available 10,000 breeders that are being minted. The current number of minted breeders is up to 6,348. So there's 3,652 remaining breeders in the pool. And you can go on websites like OpenSea or go into the in-game marketplace and see which breeders have already been minted and try to count up and get an estimate. Because, for instance, very rare breeders, there's only 19 of each very rare breeder in the breeding pool ever. So if 13 of a specific breeder's already been minted by other people, there's only 6 left of that very rare left in the remaining 3,652 to be minted, or they could be hiding in a pack that somebody has bred and just left sealed to try to, gain value or just be patient with their reveal on those packs that are left unopened.
Wow. Okay, let me see here.
And then you also have your racers tab. That's where any racers that you own, and you do get a practice racer you'll be able to use for freeze when you register for the website. Part of the welcome kit is we're able to get airdrop breeds, which is a free breed for the welcome side of the house. So you can get yourself a racer that can actually be configured and enter into paid racing as well. But most of the time, when a new player comes into the system, the community bands together and gives them a warm welcome. And this is one of the only communities that I've been a part of since going into the crypto space or the Web3 blockchain gaming space, where you can just get given a NFT racer that costs them 15 Matic to mint just for showing up and wanting to play the game.
Yeah, I
Sometimes they'll
remember.
send out 2, 3, 4. One of the guys I brought on is an affiliate from another blockchain game that I'm a part of. he got given like 7 racers of some pretty high qualities, some that were already trained and ready to start racing, and he's kind of gone pretty wild with it. He's up to over 500 Matic in winnings in his first month and a half, 2 months of racing, and leveraged a lot of new racers and breeders from that. And he's in a pretty good spot just from an initial burst of community love.
Yeah, I got all these hounds from some from your welcome pack, and then I know one of your viewers gave me 2 of them here. I think it was this Holly and the Cassandra.
Yep, and those are 2 of the best G4 runners you could hope for. So Group 4 is kind of the starter common class, where it's good to stretch your legs and kind of learn how to configure your dogs and start racing at the lower tiers, but there's still some significant prizes even in the Group 4 tier.
Yeah. Okay, so what about Whippets here? The brief description on this one.
Whippets are a different class of racers. The distances are a little bit shorter and faster paced. The Whippets come from breeders as well, but they're limited, unlike the racers. Racers, you can mint an unlimited amount of racers every month from a breeder, whereas Whippets, you get 2 per breeder per month. And at the last day of the month, those breeders reset, and you could pull the new Whippets for the new month each month that you want to mint those Whippets. They're the same 15 Matic ripping cost in order to get the Whippets. And the Whippets tend to still be viable from just about any breeder you could pull from. There's far less Whippets than there are racers. So there's only 20 or 30 Whippets in the game. So you have a higher chance of pulling a more competitive Whippet than you do a racer. And they have their own separate prize pools. They have their own allocated funds for their major races. They have their own set of groups. Now, you could pull a low end that's not going to do much for you. But if you were to pull, for instance, one of the rares or very rares, or, God willing, the Tinsley, which is the extremely rare Whippet, you'd be able to configure that dog and start racing for thousands of Matic every single month just from those Whippets that you pull.
And then I think I remember you saying that there's no deep dive on
There's
the Whippets,
no rapid
right?
configurations, right? They come as they are, and then you train them. You can boost them. So boosts are your temporary trainings that just add 1 skill point into each of the categories: speed, acceleration, consistency, and endurance. And then they'll use those boosts if it's a boosted Whippet race. They won't use those boosts if it's an unboosted Whippet race. And then you also have the stat of form on both Whippets and on racers, and that increases and decreases from 50 to 100 based on your race performance.
Okay. Would you recommend? I mean, just quick answer here. Would you recommend that we open one later on?
Yeah, Whippets are a great way of getting started. They don't require any configurations. You do have a Jason breeder, which is a decent rare breeder to pull from. We've actually gotten some really good Whippets from our Jason breeder in the past. And they're a great place for new players to kind of get started because it takes the configuration part of it. You still will have preferences. So you'll still have to learn what distance your Whippets likes to run at. And then you will prioritize the free races at that distance. And then the weather and track conditions, like the surface and the weather, will all affect whether your Whippet is negatively impacted or not impacted. So if your Whippet likes snowy wet tracks, you would then hunt for free snowy wet races at the distances that your Whippet likes to perform at, and that's all you have to do to get your Whippet ready to run in the bigger tournaments. The Whippets also have free to enter tournaments with big paid returns on them, just like the Greyhounds do. So you could enter the Group 3 Whippet races where you would boost your Whippet and prepare it by running on the free races to boost your form up to maximum, and then slap them in that Group 3 race for the same 10 experience that it would cost you to enter a Greyhound Group 3 major. And then they run against all the other Whippets that are also in Group 3. Once they move up to the Group 2 Whippets, then they'd be able to compete in those slightly higher payout Group 2 runs. And when they get to enough form, I believe it's 250, then they are eligible for the Group 1 races. There's no actual Group 1 trial to make them a Group 1 Whippet. They just have to have enough Group 2 points to get into that free race every month. But every month, Whippets have their own batch of free-to-enter XP-based tournaments where they can enter for nothing and compete for pretty large, significant Matic payouts. The Whippet race majors are usually around 5,000 Matic returns split amongst 6 hounds, because Whippet races are 6 per entry, not 8 per, like the Greyhounds are. So you get a bigger cut, but it's a little harder to make it into that last final, because only 6 of those Whippets are going to make it to the race that you compete for the money in.
Oh, so I would have to breed with one of my, or breed from one of my breeders to get a Whippet. There's no.
Yep.
I thought there's a pack.
If you go to the breeders tab, you'll see on each one that last category says available Whippets 2, and that'll help track how many Whippets you have available on each breeder each month. And then if you go on the left to Whippet Mint under the game options,
right here.
That's where you'll select which breeder that you want to mint a Whippet from, and you can do 2 from each one.
But 15 Matic, right?
Same cost as minting a Greyhound, yeah.
Okay. Would you recommend? I mean, let's be real. Like to mint it from my, I think it was my Juno, right, or Jason.
I would say Jason would be the best one to mint from. Juno's a lower end common, but like I said, Whippets, they kind of run a little bit differently than Greyhounds. So there's been Whippets pulled from lower end or lower statted commons that have gone on to win pretty major prizes, because at the end of the day, the most important factor is having a high formed hound, so you're keeping your form high up on the maximum that you can, and catching the right conditions. So there's guys that will put 20, 30 Whippets in some of these bigger Whippet races because they're hoping that one of those 20 to 30 catches perfect preferences and makes it to the final. It's kind of leveraging how many you want to enter and the quality of those Whippets, and some of that is based on how they get trained, because training is anywhere from 5 to 15 additional stat points spread out across your hounds. You get 5 training sessions, and each training session will result in either 1 or 3 training points added to the baseline stats of those Whippets or Greyhounds.
Oh, okay. Here, let me pull it back here before we get lost in this hole here. Okay, no, so Whippets, okay. Why wouldn't they put the Whippets up here though and have like its own category? I mean, I guess it's still racing.
It's still part of the racing ecosystem. That's kind of going to be where all of the sports, I believe, are going to go under sport, and then all the racing is going to go under racing. And then if they have other game types, they'll have their own tab up top. So if they have like a RPG tab or a first-person shooter tab, as the froth ecosystem in the muzzle run platform expands.
Okay. Oh, okay. I might look into getting a Whippet later here. Okay, so what am I? Oh, so rabbits.
So rabbits. So the rabbit tab contains rabbits of varying colors. There are 10 different rabbits that you can eventually pull from. If you manage to pull a bronze, silver, or a gold rabbit, those can be burned for additional training credits. And every time you spend a training credit, you will get a rabbit mint and be able to open up a new rabbit pack. So to train a hound, you spend 5 training credits to train each of your 5 training sessions in the different stat categories you choose. So you get 5 rabbit packs every time you fully train a hound. You also get them for temporarily training or boosting your Whippets or your Greyhounds. You'll get another rabbit mint from those as well. And a bronze gives you 1 training credit. A silver, which is a very rare, gives you 10 training credits.
Oh, wow.
And a gold rabbit is an extremely rare with a lower pull chance. But when you manage to get one, I've pulled a couple myself. You know, those rabbits, you can either sell the gold rabbit to another player that wants those training credits, or you can burn it yourself for 40 training credits. And right now the going rate's about 125 Matic for a gold rabbit.
Yeah, no. Oh, you know, I do have a question on the rabbit then. But once we get to the that section there, 1 second here. Because I'm writing down some notes. Preference. Okay. And then, what is this? Gifts. They just throw.
So
Yeah.
gifts are during certain time periods. So in December, they had gifts that came down the pipeline, and those were just Christmas presents. So for every 10 Whippet or Greyhound mints, so every time you minted 10 racers, it would award you with one more Christmas gift. And then on
Oh.
Christmas Day, they became openable. Some of the prizes were what you would find in the tickets category, which are tickets to the Rhythm of the Night tournament, which is a tournament that runs a couple times a year for like a 10,000 Matic prize pool. And the only way to get in is by collecting. So for every full collection you have, so all 10 of the different rabbit colors, if you had one of each one, you'd get a ticket for that. If you have every common Greyhound, you'd get a ticket for that. If you have every rare Greyhound, you'd get a ticket for that. Every very rare Greyhound in the game, you'd have a ticket for that. The extremely rare collection, you'd get a ticket for that. Same for the Whippet side of the house. So there's a bunch of different collections you can complete, and that covers both breeders and racers. And each completed collection gets you an additional Rhythm of the Night ticket that can then be burned for an entry of one of your selected Greyhounds to go into that Rhythm of the Night tournament and compete for those bigger prize pools.
Okay, but it's not one ticket per hound, right? To enter.
It's one ticket per Greyhound that you enter in that race. So if you end up with one ticket, you can put
Yeah.
one hound, your very best hound that you have configured with the highest stats to compete for that money. If you have 10 tickets, you can pick your 10 best hounds and have 10 chances at making the finals in that Rhythm of the Night tournament. They
So,
also had breeders that came in those gift boxes as well. There was a chance to get breeders, and there was a chance to get gold rabbits. And they also had
wow.
packs pulled from the George breeder that the Breeders' Den guys have. Muzz went and minted a bunch of racer packs from that George breeder, and those also were included as some of the potential prizes in those Christmas presents.
Okay, but that's only what? That's only Christmas
That
or
was only during
rare
Christmas
moments.
that I've seen the gifts. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um. So, where does that? Okay, so it would just fall under here, right? I know you said
Yep.
that the breeders. You said I would be able to have. Well, maybe I misunderstood this, but before that I would receive 2 Whippet packs. Is that did I misunderstand that?
Yeah,
Just
you
by having a
don't
breeder?
get them for free just by
Okay.
having the breeder. It allows you to mint 2 Whippets every month. Some people will sell their Whippets,
Okay.
Whippet packs, because there's a lot of high-end Whippet racers. They only focus on the Whippet side of the game. They don't do any Greyhound games. So if you own breeders, you can sell those to people who don't own breeders that just want to race. They can buy those Whippet packs from you. So you can charge whatever you want to charge after you mint those Whippet packs to anybody who doesn't own breeders. And once there's no more breeders left to mint, the only way to get Whippets is going to be going out and finding people who own breeders that don't want to keep those Whippets themselves and paying them for those Whippet packs.
Okay. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me see here on the notification. Okay, so that's not really much. Okay. So funds and credits.
Mhm.
What am I looking at here then? So
So
froth.
you'll have your froth tab, and that's where you can either deposit or withdraw the froth into Matic or Matic into froth. Anytime you win
Toggle.
a race, it's going to deposit more froth into that froth tag. And then if you need to pay for race entries, you can deposit Matic into froth in order to pay. Froth is also the minting fee for anything on the Muzzle Sports side. So instead of minting your racers for Matic, you have to mint players with froth. So as the value of froth increases, those players are going to get more expensive. The coaches and the trainers, that all costs froth as well as the practice fields that are going to be a limited reopened mint. And those are those practice fields that allow you to learn your players a little bit better. There was a limited run for the month of February, and then they closed off the ability to mint more practice fields, and they're going to close that permanently after this next window at the end of this month, where the only way to get access to practice fields is going to be buying them from someone else or renting the 2 hours of daily practice time that they have available for whatever fee they decide to set.
Okay. Okay, now what is this? Racing.
So this is the racing fund. So there are still a few races out there that do require Matic to enter. Those are going to be going away in the long term, but
Oh,
there's still some sit and goes that have Matic entry fees. And any races that you win that have Matic prizes instead of froth prizes, it's going to just deposit that Matic straight to that balance, and you can withdraw it from that screen as well.
okay. And then, oh, and this is the training credits, right?
Yep. Anytime you
Uh,
burn a rabbit or buy training credits through the training funds tab, which you could buy them straight through here if you wanted to buy them, the more you buy in one go, the better value you get. So one gets you, or 10 Matic gets you one if you're buying them one at a time. If you go all the way up to a pack of 10, it lowers the cost from 10 Matic per all the way down to 5 Matic per. So you get to cut your cost in half for buying those training credits in bulk.
mhm.
A lot of streamers, we have access to give away 20 training credits per week through
Oh,
various
nice.
promotions. Some people will throw packs on the wheel. If anybody mints a breeder during that stream, then they'll throw some packs up there and then spin it and give some away. Like we run, little battle mini games and just give away free training credits to anybody tuned in. Some people will put training credits up for races that they run so that you have to compete for them through racing. But the streamers give out training credits. You could buy them. And like I said, you could also burn rabbits to gain them. And anytime you
Yeah.
have any of those methods, that's where your credits will show up. You see you have 6 there currently. And as you gain more, if you were to burn your bronze rabbit, that'd go up to 7. If you won some on a stream, however many you win, it adds them all in there so you can track how many training credits you have, either on the funds tab or on the training tab. It'll also show you how many training credits you have available.
Okay. And
And
then what
then
is this?
breeder rewards, there's 2 types of breeders that grant breeder rewards. The first is what's called the OG breeders. The first 1,500 breeders in the game, they have an allocation of 10% of all Matic and Froth spending in Muzzle Run and all future Muzzle Run ecosystem titles.
Mhm.
And 10% of the total spending on the app gets split up between those 1,500 original breeders. And then there's also frothy breeders, and those are like the fourth or fifth generation of breeders. There's 3,000 frothers, and those have their own separate 10% allocation. So it's half the amount of Matic per breeder because there's twice the amount of breeders, but it's their own separate pool of 10%.
And they get this for free just by
Just
having
by owning them every month,
Wow.
10% of the total spending. So last month, I've got frothing breeders. They only gave probably about 2 or 3 Matic each time. But in February, it was a heavy month because people, rushed to mint out the rest of the frothy breeders.
Mhm.
And so the Matic spending went kind of high that month. And even the froth breeders received 15 Matic per breeder, just for owning a froth breeder. That was the split of 1/3000th of 10% of app spending. And then the
Wow.
OG breeders each got 30 Matic per. So as the game
Oh.
grows, more players spend, then you get a higher percentage back per OG or frothy breeder that you own.
Okay, so OG you said was about is 1,500,
Yep,
and
there's
then
1,500 OGs and then 3,000 froth breeders. Yep.
froth breeders. Oh, ah. You said 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Doubt that. I mean, it would be ridiculous if anyone ended up listing one of the 1,500, right?
You'd be surprised.
Wow.
The people are often making trades and making sales. For instance, right now, many people are targeting the latest generation and last breeder. So it's the last utility breeder, and they're breeders that will compete in races. You've got 3 of them. Every month, those
Hmm.
dogs or those breeders are going to race one another in 2 separate pools that each get 5% of all froth spending. Now, they don't get the Matic cut, it's just froth, but all froth spending on the app, they have another 10% pool split into 5% for commons and 5% for rare plus, and they'll race every month for whatever that number is, split amongst the 8 people who make the finals, or the 8 dogs that make the finals. So if
Okay, but
somebody were to win that after they're 6 titles in and making a million Matic every month, that then gets split by 10%. So you'd have 100,000 Matic every month. Divide that into, it'd be 50,000 divided among the 8 hounds who compete and win that spot in the finals of commons, and 50,000 in that pot for the rare plus. And that's going to be every single month for the lifetime of Muzzle Run, and all titles that get developed in the future and have froth spending.
Oh, but it's not automatic. Like I'm receiving froth for those
Right.
3 breeders I have, right? I have to compete for
Yeah,
it.
it won't be automatic.
Okay.
It's a competition, so you'd have to actually win those races, or at least get to the finals in those races to get that monthly cut. But when your breeders finally catch those perfect preferences and make it to a final, that's when, you know, even the last place position is going to get a very high reward.
And you can train the breeders, no?
Breeder training is not something that they have. It's going to be untrained and unrabbited.
Okay.
So they're going to run much like the Whippets do, but they are going to have form. So as their performance varies during those breeder races, your form will either go up from 50 or stay at 50, or go down from 100 if you got all the way up that high, based on each individual race performance.
So it's all random during that race. Everyone's finding out what their breeder.
Yep. So there's no way to test your breeders ahead of time. There's no breeder free races to learn what your preferences are, try to get your form up ahead of time. You get dumped in, and you hope you catch the right distances and conditions for your breeder to make it to that final.
So we talked, okay, so you did mention a little bit about breeding, or the breeders, Whippet Mint, basic information, just, okay, you open a pack from a breeder that you have, right? And that's the only way to acquire one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Every breeder can get 2 per month, and the only way to get Whippets is from somebody who owns a breeder.
Okay. Okay.
So and once all 10,000 are minted out, those Whippets are going to be very valuable.
Okay. Training. So just, you have a certain amount of points or credits, right?
Yep. So you have 5 permanent training sessions per hound or Whippet, and you have an unlimited amount of temporary boosts. Every time you train any of the either permanent or temporary boosts, it's going to give you a rabbit. Okay. It's going to give you, on the permanent side, 1 to 3 points in their stats as a permanent increase. And then the temporaries will add 10 races of boosts for each one you spend. So for the temporary speed boost, if you spend 1 training credit on your hound, you'll get 10 races that you can apply that boost for and have an increased speed by 1 stat. So if you have a 100 speed hound and it's a boosted race, you can technically go up to speed of 101 for however many races you have boosted, if it's a boosted tournament.
Okay, so temporary only, as the name states, only for a certain amount of time, but permanent complete. Okay. How many can you put credits can you apply on a hound on the permanent side?
On the permanent side, you can spend 5 total training credits on any hound or Whippet, and it's a random draw on whether you're going to go up by 1 point or 3 points. If you go up by 1 point, you can actually, if you're still under that 97 mark, you could go into speed again, and then speed again until you either hit 98 or something beyond that, closer to ideally 100. So if you have a 92 speed hound, for instance, and you roll a 3 and a 3, you're now stuck at 98 speed. You can't get any closer to 100 speed.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. So if I just click train, I'm not going to train any, but so I click train. You said it either goes up by 1 or by 3. So if
1,
I said
2, or 3.
Oh,
it can
1
go
or,
up.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, 2 or 3. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3.
So for instance, for your hounds that have 92 speed, people like to 3-2-3 or 2-3-3 their speed, because you have to roll a 2 in those first 2 rolls in order to hit 97 and give you a chance at that third roll to hit 100.
Damn it. Okay. 3. You said, what was it again? 1, 2, 3, or sorry.
So 3-2-3 or 2-3-3 is the only way to hit 100 speed on a 92 speed hound, because that 2 has to come within the first 2 rolls Because if you roll 2 3s, you're now stuck at 98. So you have to roll either a 3 on your first roll or a 2 on your first roll, and then the opposite, a 3 or a 2 on your second roll. Or, if you roll a 3 on the first roll and then a 1, you could still roll another 1 and get that 2. Or if you rolled, for instance, a 1 and then a 3, it would then give you a grand total of 99 speed. You'd be stuck.
Is there a reroll in any way?
There's only a reroll with that red collared Zab Judah training reroll breeder. And you only get to do it one time out of all 5 training sessions. So if you reroll too early, you can't reroll any more than once out of those 5 training sessions.
So it's only available once per dog, right?
One time per dog. Yep. One of the 5 sessions you're able to reroll. They are going to make that a function that you can pay. A utility point is what they're going to rename the training credits to. You can pay a training credit to re-roll that one time, but if you own the red collared Zab Judah breeder, you never have to pay a training credit for that re-roll functionality. Currently, it's only available to those that own a Zab Judah re-roll breeder, but for the pack re-rolls and for the training re-rolls, they're going to allow that function to be implemented by spending those utility credits to get that functionality. The perk is anybody who owns the breeders will never have to spend those utility points to get access to that function.
Only if you have that Judah. What was it? The Judah.
The Zab Judah training reroll breeder is what it's called. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into getting possibly one of those. Okay. So then.
Yeah, they're very handy.
Oh. Okay. So now we move on to collections here, which just shows breeders, right? What is this? 107 selected.
Oh. It shows all of the available breeders, and you can filter by rarity. And only the original run or OG racers have breeders that match. Now, the racers, you'll actually see the brindles and the spotteds in those collections because they add new runners to each of the different rarities. So there's an extremely rare spotted and an extremely rare brindle that you would see under the racers tab, but they won't show under the breeders section because only the original hounds ever will get the breeders in the breeder pool.
Oh, Jason. Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay. Oh, wow. So there's 106. What is that? Is that in total of racing?
That's just commons.
Just commons. Okay. And it doesn't. Oh, because I guess I don't have a rare, so it doesn't show me how many there are.
Right.
Okay.
It won't show you how many you have of your collection, and those are the spotteds, and then the ones above those are the brindles.
Oh,
and then you have the OG rares. Me too. Yeah, the spotteds are beautiful hounds.
Wow, very rare. Oh, okay. Hector.
Avicii's. That's my dream dog. I want to pull an Avicii come December. Rockette is the highest statted hound in the game. She's the only one that beat George in base stats. Both George and a Rockette can hit a maximum of 398 stat points with perfect training.
98. You said 98?
398 is the maximum any hound can hit. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Whippet. Wait, what the? That's
the entire Whippet collection. Oh, wow. There is a rarity on them, and you just have to kind of see which ones are what. So the further down the list you'll get to the rare Whippets. The Tinsley is the only extremely rare. The Aussie and the Adza are very rares. Ginger to Spicy, Aote and Seth, Galaxy and Snez and Aller are all the rare Whippets. And then Omega and above are all your common Whippets. And you can actually click on every one of them. It'll pull them up and show you what the base stats of every single Whippet are.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, that's nice. Okay,
yep.
Yeah,
you could do that. You could do the same with the racers as well and see kind of what they start at with their stat points. So you know, like, hey, I want to hunt for a Galaxy because that's one of the highest base stat rares. And then when you pull a Galaxy Whippet, you'll know you got yourself an amazing Whippet.
But so if I pull, let's just say for example, Omega, or no, sorry, let's just say Aller. If I pull an Aller, you pull an Aller, they're always going to be the same?
No, they're going to be different based on their parentage. So the breeder they come from is going to give them different bonuses. as well as there's an RNG factor upon the breeding, where there's a range of how good they end up inheriting those stats. So you could pull 2 Allers from the same breeder. If you get 2 Allers in a
Yeah.
row from your Jason, they're going to inherit a different range of bonuses, and you won't know how good or average your Aller is until he gets on the track.
Oh, okay. Okay. Damn. Oh, I only get an extremely rare one day.
It happens. It happens. I still haven't pulled my extremely rare yet. I've pulled them for other people, but I haven't gotten
Oh,
one
have
for
you?
myself just yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We actually, in our first month, we hosted a day where we borrowed somebody's extremely rare Hickman breeder, and we actually pulled a purebred Hickman. So we got a Hickman racer from the Hickman breeder, and they come with a little purebred tag up in the corner that shows that it's a purebred, and it was an extremely rare from an extremely rare. So it got a really good bonus.
Oh.
And then we've also pulled a Spartak from one of our breeders during the one-day spotty event. That was actually a bonus pack on the wheel. My wife won all the packs, but it came down to 2 individuals on our jackpot, and she decided to split the packs with the other person. He's a fellow streamer.
Yeah.
And one of his 4 packs that he got as part of that jackpot bonus was an extremely rare Spartak Brindle.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But those are the only 2 extremely rares that we've pulled in house.
And which breeder was that from?
We got a Spartak from our common Steven breeder. He's an 87 speed, but a maximum substat for a blue gray. And I targeted him, and that's a conversation for the breeding day.
Yeah.
I've gone through and calculated the best secondary intangibles for pulling the best spotted and brindle hounds. And I went out and acquired the common breeders that have that lower initial stat of speed, but the highest possible substats of acceleration, endurance, and consistency, so that I can stat match for the best possible brindle and spotted pulls. So we were pulling from our Steven that day and managed to get a Spartak from our Steven.
Oh, that's right here? This one?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be for the breed day. I know that's gonna be a gonna be a good one. Okay, so then moving off of collections, just basic marketplace. Do you ever buy from the marketplace, or do you just go off of
marketplace? You
OpenSea?
can't currently list or buy from yet. Functionality's coming soon. That was recently implemented for the searchability. It shows you every racer, every breeder, every soccer coach, player, etc., and the filters up above. You can filter each of those things and then use the little sub filter boxes to even isolate just for rarity or coats or stats. You can filter and find the exact hound you're hunting for and see if someone owns it, and if they do and they've listed it on the marketplace, it'll have a price and you'll be able to buy it straight on the marketplace. But the buying and selling feature is not implemented yet. Currently it's just able to search the entire database of every hound that's ever been minted, as long as it hasn't been burnt.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see. Okay. Okay. So moving off of here, we gave options, and we did. You already went through my account. So then racing. So I got my first hound from you using your affiliate link. I have my little welcome pack. What am I looking at? How do I start entering my first race?
On the race tab is where you're going to have access to all of the free races. At the top, you can be able to filter it between greyhounds or whippets. That's your very first option up top. And that'll show you all of the free whippet races. You can filter them all by type. So as you learn your dogs, say for instance, you want to lean into sprints, you can go on to distance, deselect, select all, and just select the 3 sprint distances. And it'll show you all the races that are within that distance. Then you can even filter your weather preferences, track preferences, and even class. So you have group 4 dogs. You can deselect all under class and only select either group 4 or maiden races to see just the races that your dogs will qualify for. On the same tabs, you'll also have your next to run and results, and you can go back to any date in the history of muzzle run on the results tab and see every race that was ran that day. So if you go on the far right there under the date, the little calendar, up above where it says register,
right Yeah.
You can go back in the history of Muzzle Run and see every race that was ran on any day ever. The database doesn't ever delete those races, and you can go
That's
back and
nice.
watch the races. You can go back and froth the races. Now, the other tab to look at is the free and paid tab. This is where you can switch over to the paid racing. So once you learn your
Oh.
G4 hounds, you can go and filter it by G4 paid races and then pay an initial entry fee of 75 froth, 150
Mhm.
froth, 400 froth. They even have high stakes races where every racer pays 1,200 froth in order to enter that race for a bigger prize pool return. Now, the G4s are lower entry, lower return, and as you
Mhm.
go up in class, then you have the higher entry, higher return races.
But so G4, let's say for my Dasha, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is untrained,
Mm-hmm.
but I can race her in these, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
once you learn your Dasha and if she's
Mhm.
she's 15 out of 15 configured, you send it over, we confirm it on the God breeder, and you know she's set
No.
up the best she can be.
Uh-huh.
And you've got her form maxed out, and you know she loves 500-meter rainy muddy, like that first one up top. You could pay
Mhm.
75 froth. There's currently 5 people that have paid that 75 froth, and when
Mhm.
that gets to all 8 people, then you will race for your share of a 600 froth prize pool.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
and
once
then
you've learned your dogs, you can cherry pick these races, and it's different than the sit and goes, which is all random preferences.
mhm.
And sometimes they have like sit and goes that are be just wet tracks. So when you got your dog learned and you know you got a wet runner, you can slap them in those wet track races, and they'll
Mhm.
go off varied distances and varied weather preferences, but all wet surface. But these ones here, if you know, hey, my dog is one of the best 250-meter rainy wet G4 dogs,
Yeah.
I can slap them in this G4 250-meter rainy wet track and clean house and take this money. And that's where learning your dogs and configuring them is going to
Yeah.
pay off.
And then whoever's end up listening to this, just make sure, and they correct me if I'm wrong also, don't put your dogs in anything below G3, right? And I don't know if they can, like if you have a fresh pound, put
You
them in maiden,
actually
correct?
can, when you with your G4 dog, the more you
Mhm.
learn it, if you get up to 200 plus class points, your dog will be able to run in group 2 races. You'll qualify for competing in group 2 with an
Mhm.
untrained common group 4 dog, but you can still compete in group 4. Once they're trained,
Mhm.
if you have a group 3 dog and you get up to group 2, you can no longer compete in group 3 races. You only can do group 2 races.
But with
If your dog
unraced.
qualifies, you could go in maidens. You have to win a maiden race before you
Yeah.
can go into a group 4 paid.
Yeah, that's what I
But
meant. Okay. Oh, okay.
if you have your Dasha, for instance, if you get to 200 plus class points on Dasha, she still qualifies for group 4.
Uh-huh.
But if you put the group 3 flag on, now you're going to be racing against hounds that are rare plus and potentially trained. And if your group 4 Dasha, even
Mhm.
untrained, gets 200 class points, you can then choose to enter her in group 2, 3, or 4 races. But winning a group 2 race against greyhounds that are trained rare pluses that have also learned their hounds and put them in these paid, you're probably not going to compete.
Yes, but for someone that just barely starting out and they haven't raced anything, what is the preferred method of them going? Like just maiden?
I would start with maiden, and then once they hit group 4, you're not going to race them in anything but group 4.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they say group 2 next to their name,
Yeah.
don't put them in group 2, don't put
Yeah.
them in group 3, only race them in group 4 until they are trained,
Yeah.
rare plus, or have earned 1,000 plus Matic. Once they've earned 1,000 Matic, they can't race in group 4 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you would definitely be comfortable training a common once it's earned that 1,000 Matic, because you can't race it in group 4s anymore.
And the Maddens when they're first starting out, does it matter what the G4 maiden or the regular maiden?
It does. So the
Okay.
regular maidens are going to allow those rares and trained hounds to race. The group 4 maidens is only going to be dogs that qualify for all of the group 4 qualifications.
Okay. So don't.
92 speed,
Yeah.
commons, untrained, less than 1,000 Matic. So the competition is much tighter in the group 4 side than it is in the full on maidens.
Okay. But starting out.
Yep.
Go
So starting
maiden.
out, stick to the
Don't
group
do
4 maidens. Yep.
group 4 maidens. Don't go maiden.
Correct.
Okay. And then once you move on to G4, stay on G4 until you start training your dog, and then you found the preferences.
Correct.
But don't go anything below or below G4 or group 4. Okay.
Right.
And then you did say sit and go was just random races,
Yep.
right?
So sit and goes, they actually have like different classifications. Streamers can actually build sit and goes of all types. So I can build a maiden only sit and go. I can build a group 4 sit and go. I can build a group 3 untrained. So then it allows rare plus, but they have to have no training sessions. I can do a group 3 maximum stat, and they all get labeled with what the qualifications are to enter. So you see like common 92 untrained.
Yeah.
That's basically has to be a common, no training sessions. So even though it says open, that's a group 4 that either a maiden can enter, a group 4 maiden, or one that's actually won their first group 4 maiden race and became a full-on group 4. It allows both to get into that. Vegas high rollers, that's open to anybody of any grade, and it's a higher premium price to get in, but you're going to be racing against dogs across every spectrum. Common crossfire, that's for trained commons. So that's for commons that have then, aged out or maticked out. You would then train your common, and only commons can get into the common crossfire. That'd be untrained or trained commons can go head to head. The rare bloodline untrained is for untrained rare only. So very rare, extremely rare commons can't get in that race. Only rares can. G1 slipstream is for hounds that have acquired enough points and won the placement in the group 1 trials and became G1 runners. You have to have that group 1 in order to compete in the group 1s, so on and so forth. They all have different stipulations that kind of will isolate the hounds that are allowed to enter and tighten that competitive nature. Some have just a handful of preferences. So if you have, a hail and snow, there's actually like Brisbane Showdown, for instance. The Brisbane Showdown only has sunny tracks sunny weather and hard tracks. So if you have a sunny hard dog, every single race in the Brisbane Showdown will be sunny and hard. It'll just be various distances. And then like the London Gala, the London's is cloudy or rainy. So it'll be cloudy or rainy weather and wet or muddy track. Every track will be some combination of cloudy wet, cloudy muddy, rainy wet, or rainy muddy.
Oh, wow. But not for a newcomer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Avoid these when we're first learning the game. That's more when you've got kind of a grasp on how your hound runs and the most ideal races to put them into. And those are all questions that, your coach or your affiliate onboarder will help you. Hey, these are good races for your dog to enter. This would be something you actually stand a chance of winning.
Okay. And then tournaments.
So the tournaments are the big races. These ones are a little bit juicier with a small entry fee. And the daily guarantees have a guaranteed prize pool regardless of the number of hounds that enter. But once they reach a certain number of hound entered, all of the race entry fees compound and compile on top of that initial froth grant. So the Send It Sunday is a race with all varied distances. It covers every single distance in the game. So you're going to run it 200 meters all the way up to 850 meters, and the weather and surface is random. So you're going to never know what the conditions are, but you will guarantee to run every possible distance in the game. So it's 12 races and a final. Whatever the top 8 hounds are that do the best across every distance possible with various rare conditions, those top 8 then compete for a minimum of 70,000 froth prize pool. But if it gets over that guaranteed entry amount, so if the froth entries get beyond that 70,000 range, then it starts to add all those race fees on top of that 70,000, and the prize pool gets even higher.
And this is all trained, correct?
No, there's different
No.
ones for everything. The Send It Sunday is
Oh.
trained. The Maiden Mayhem is only for maiden dogs. So
Oh, it
trained
says
maidens.
trained.
Yep. So
Okay.
if you go down, this is for trained maidens.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is if you pull a really high end rare plus,
Mm-hmm.
you can register it for 400 froth
Mm-hmm.
into the trained maiden contest. And then you have a week to learn your dog after it's in that, and it could get out of maidens after it's been registered, but you have to register it before you get it out of maidens.
Okay.
Then you can train it as well, learn its rabbits for that week. So I've got one entered in the train maiden coming up. That's my very rare Andrew. I pulled it at the beginning of the month and waited for this tournament to show up before I raced him. Because if I would have won a race in the maidens before entering him, I wouldn't have been qualified to enter this tournament. So I waited till the
Oh.
tournament popped. I registered him for 400 froth, and then I began learning him. I've gone in now and I've got him configured 12 out of 15 right now on the God Breeder. So I'm only missing one funnel of rabbits to get him perfectly configured for the best chances to win this race.
Jeez.
And then you have the Whippet the next day. This is the daily. So every day there's a new daily race. So this is the Wet Muddy Madness Whippet Run. So Wet and Muddy Whippets, and this is open. So trained Whippets. So you're going to want a
Trained
rare
Whippets,
plus
okay.
Whippet that's been trained,
Rare
that you
plus.
know runs well on wet and mud surfaces. You would enter him in this tournament, and he would compete against other Whippets that people have gone in and learned are good at wet and muddy to see who gets the prize pool out of the Wet and Muddy Run. Then the next one down, you got like the new kids versus OGs. This is trained. That's what you see that under open. So this is like the Brendels and the Spotties versus the OG hounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's open to all rarities, all classes, but you see it says soft tracks. So this is where when you have those high-end hounds that you've learned to love running soft tracks, it's all going to be soft conditions. And every week you get new configurations. So it may be soft this week. The new kid versus OG next week might be muddy track or hard track.
Mm-hmm. Huh. I couldn't enter in any of these, could I? I mean, I
Not
possibly
these ones.
Yeah.
But if you go to completed instead of registering,
okay.
You'll see that just yesterday, so the last one that ran was the Wet Track King, and that's an open one. But if you scroll down one more, that's the Mini Send It. That is only available to Group 4 hounds.
Oh.
So that's one you'd be able to enter. Runs on like a Thursday night for US, but it's like a Friday race for the New Zealand time. But every Thursday, there's a mini Send It that runs for only Group 4s to compete for that 35,000.
Oh, but untrained, or is
untrained? Yep, that's an untrained, because once you train it, it can't be Group 4 anymore.
That's right, Group 4.
So that's just for untrained commons with less than 92 speed or less that have won less than 1,000 Matic worth of prize pool. So if you win the mini Send It, the first time you win, you're going to be like 400 Matic winning, 400 Matic already towards your allocated 1,000. So you could win it a couple of times. But then once you do, then you would have to train your common because it's no longer able to enter any of these Group 4 races.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I see here. So there was only 3 winners?
No, there's 8 winners, and it shows you the prize cut of each of those. It just shows you the 3 podium positions up top with a little picture showcase of your kennel. And the winner of that one last week, that's actually, so Fortune Fish, the one that won that one there, that's actually one of my onboarded kennels that I spent a lot of time coaching, and now he's to the point in his racing career where he's winning these dailies and majors. He's actually, I think he's now officially passed me in overall earnings. He's earned over 5,000 Matic himself. I think he's coming up on 6,000 Matic in total kennel earnings, just from learning and racing and reinvesting, etc.
Yeah, I need to get on that level. Okay, so start watching over. So watch for the mini Send It.
Yeah, and if you keep scrolling down, you'll see there was a 92 speed maiden untrained. If you go back to the So the maiden that's going on right now, coming up, is for a fully trained maiden. But if you keep scrolling down just a little bit more, past that common Whippets, you'll see a 92 maiden
Oh,
right there.
okay.
That's for 92 speed, but they could be 92 speed rares. But if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that the one before that, you go down to the next pink one. So take a little bit of scrolling.
Uh-huh.
That was a group 4 maiden. So I keep going a little bit more,
This one?
not the purple.
Oh.
Nope, that's for trained commons. There's your
Oh.
group 4 maiden. So every month you're going to get at least one of the weeks a group 4 maiden pop up. So if you get another high-end group 4 hound that you want to save for the maiden, or you pull it in that week that the maiden tournament's available, before you start racing it, you could slap them in this one, and this is only available for untrained group 4. You can't train them after you enter them or anything. It has to be stuck as untrained group 4 maidens only. Once they're registered, that's when you could spend that week learning your dog and getting it configured, because it can win after it's registered. It just has to be maiden at the time of registration.
Maiden. Oh, wait, hold on. So winning its first match, you said?
Yep.
Not winning its first match?
you would register it while you, like, after you first pulled it, like, oh man, I got an Alfred. That's a really good group 4. You would register it in the group 4 maiden, and then you could go and enter it in free races, and you're able to win after it's registered. And that's when you would try to figure out where it likes to race and set its rabbits up to have a best chance of winning the group 4 maiden, because it's only for dogs that have never been raced at the time of registration.
Yeah, damn it. Okay.
Or
so
never won maiden. So you can have it raced as long as it hasn't beaten the other hounds with a first place and gotten out of that group 4 maiden category. You can learn it as much as you want, but once it wins it, it no longer will qualify for a maiden race. But once you register it, then you can win out of group 4 and continue to race it and learn it, as long as you registered it before that first win.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Okay, so just those 3 then? The mini sendit, 92 speed maiden, group 4 maiden.
There's other group 4 configurations that pop up every once in a while. They're just not as common, because they usually tailor these bigger daily tournaments for the higher end hounds that take a little more configuration. And it also makes it to where, the hounds you've owned for a year still have a place to race.
True.
Yep. And then you can go up top to the very top of the page, and you can go over to the main events tab. And that's where you're going to find all of the XP entry tournaments. These don't cost any Frothermatic to register. These just cost that experience that you get from training, but they're for the big prize pools. So this is a 2,000 Matic Group 2. So any hound that makes it to Group 2 can compete just for 10 XP entry, and it's fully boosted. And then they'll race each other for that 2,000 Matic prize. The Group 1 Trials has a 3,000 Matic prize. It's for qualifying G2 hounds that have amassed 250 class points or more. Once you hit 250, you can register it for the Group 1 Trials, and the top 52 hounds or 56 hounds, whatever it is, move up into Group 1, the highest level of competition where the big money is. The Last Dance is the Burn Tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Group 3 Greyhounds is the XP-based Group 3 tournament for 2,000 Matic. The Group 3 Whippets.
Group 3. But none of these...
Bloodline of the Month. That's for specific bloodlines. So last month it was Liberty. Only people who pulled the Liberty were able to register, and they automatically get registered to compete against every other Liberty that got pulled that month. This month, it's Alfred versus Alberta. So anybody that pulls an Alfred or an Alberta can compete in that tournament at the end of the month for their share of 5,000 Matic.
Wow, there's so many tournaments.
There really is. There's so much big money every month that goes into these high-end tournaments.
And they just keep going. I mean, are these completed, or they're still going?
Some are completed. So the top 5... so if you go down to where they say resulted, those are the ones that are done.
Oh, okay.
So any that say qualifying are still upcoming.
Okay. Man, I see. I need to start getting into some of these. Well, major, I wouldn't be looking at.
Yep. The major, you're able to load, like the only majors you'll see are the muzzle league races. And those are the major, like end of quarter or the Rickerton,
Jeez.
which is for G1 only. And then you got like the exclusive George Hickman Cup. That's only for extremely rare Georges versus extremely rare Hickmans.
Is there many
So when you
people?
pull
There's no
those,
way.
you can hop into those, but they don't run very often, the extremely rare ones.
And these are all people that entered. Oh wow.
Yep. And you can click on any of those hounds and see how they've trained them. You can see how they've raced them. So you can look at other people's dogs. So that will pull up. That one, I think, yeah, that was owned by Race Pirates. That's his purebred George. So he minted that from the breeder's den because they have a George you can breed from. And he bred a George from a George.
Hmm. Oh wow.
You can see how he trained it. You can see how he's raced it. You can expand on all of his race data and see like what his track preferences are.
Oh wow.
You can go back to his race history and look at every race he's ever ran and see, how he ran on certain conditions.
Oh yeah, that was another. Oh yeah, I had a question on that too. So when so let me go back to kennel here. So let me just say like Dasha, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If okay, so you were saying while I'm looking at Dasha and I'm trying to figure out her preferences. Oh wait, why isn't it showing? Hold on. Oh, there you go, preferences. So trying to figure out whatever her preferences are with the colors and whatnot.
Yep.
And so I know you were saying kind of do like 3 colors for each, right? So 200 to 300,
So
so on and
there'll
so
be
forth.
one or two rabbits that
Yeah.
work in your funnel, but if they work, so if purples are a hit on sprints, purples aren't going to be the rabbits in any other funnel. They'll
Yeah.
only be sprints.
Oh, okay, okay. So then that's what I was gonna ask on this one. So you did say that gold rabbits are really rare, and does it get spent if it's on a paid
It
race?
doesn't.
It
So
doesn't.
if you have
Oh,
gold set as a preference, which it
yeah,
could be your dog's preference, you used to have to burn a gold rabbit in order to
yeah.
use a gold rabbit on those distances. They took that out early on before we even came on the scene. You can burn any color of rabbit. So you could burn a blue rabbit to put it into a sit and go,
Mhm.
and it will play a gold rabbit when it gets on a mid race, but it doesn't burn a gold rabbit. It doesn't cost you a gold rabbit. You'll never burn any of the metallic colors.
Mhm.
And any color of rabbit you burn will just call on the data you have saved there. It doesn't actually have to match the color. So burning a purple rabbit won't help or hurt you in any way, shape, or form. All it will do is call on purples if you catch a sprint in that race, or call
Yeah.
on greens if you catch a green or if you catch a stayer. So it just pulls
Um.
up whatever your saved is. You just have to burn a colored rabbit in order to call on that data.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, wait, what if it's good on gold, but then I don't have gold, so do I have to
Yeah.
find another rabbit? Okay. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So yeah, pretty much. Okay, and then just I guess you said trying to tone it down, or not tone it down, but funnel it down to see what the preferences are. So here are the
Mm-hmm.
base stats. Training, I don't have to focus on that yet until I funnel in what my hound is.
Right.
What is this description? Just basic, okay, information. Come scroll down to stats and expand, and then just start trying to funnel down. So win rate, I'm still trying to hone it down on her. I'm thinking, yeah, like what would you be able to see
So
on her?
you're looking at the bars on how well your dog performs on each condition.
Yeah.
So your dog is performing very well on both sunny hard and sunny muddy. So
Sunny
as you
hard,
get more
sunny muddy.
races on sunny hard and sunny muddy, one of
Mm-hmm.
those bars is going to be higher than the other on the
Okay.
lifetime average. And that's
Okay.
going to show you your dog's ideal conditions to run on.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also show you if you don't select rabbits when you're running free races, one of your distance funnels will still have those peak performance bars where you will place or win consistently at one of those distances. And just looking at it, like you probably have a mid runner because you've had a solid mid runner all along. There will be one rabbit that amplifies your mid speeds more than others and makes you win a little more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But until you start playing rabbits, you'll usually only have one or two funnels that have good performance, but one will clearly, after you get about 50, 60 races in, be
Yeah.
higher than any of the others. That's when you would then go start applying all your rabbits outside of that one funnel. And also you could tune in to find the right rabbit on preference, but that's a little harder to do because your dog has a natural affinity for one funnel other than others. And then when you find the right rabbit color, you'll see those bars start to go up outside of your natural funnel to start to match that one that your dog is naturally good at.
Okay. Oh, it looks like I still need to race, or put her in marathon. I thought I did though. That's weird. Okay. So you said as of right
Well,
now
you
it
may
looks.
have raced in marathons, but if you've never won a marathon, you're not going to see a green bar there until you start racking up wins. If you go to the place data, then as you get a second or a third, it'll give you bars in those distances as well. And until you do, it'll tell you how many times at the bottom there you've raced in every distance.
Where here, right here?
So looking on the bars, so if you go up to like the distance bars, you'll see that on 500 meters, you've raced it 3 times, but you've never gotten a second or a third. Or not 500, yeah. So the 500, you don't have a green bar yet, but you see in the little parentheses at the bottom, it tells you how many times you've raced that distance. You just haven't actually placed yet.
Oh, but I thought I raced from 700 to 850. I guess I didn't.
Nope, if there's zeros there, you've never tried those distances. And you can also see that data if you scroll down to your time section. It'll show you every single time and the number of times you've raced on each distance. So you've never raced on a 700, 750, 800, or 850 yet on that hound.
Oh, okay. I need to start working on those. What the hell? Huh. Okay. And then rabbit place rate. Okay. So it's just, well, I need to have more races before it can actually, I mean, if it does well, say it comes in second place on a blue rabbit at the 300 or 450, whatever, is it kind of safe to start believing it's that, or is it too early?
Well, that's when we need to make sure that it's not just your preference. So it'll either be maybe your natural funnel and you are running on a sunny hard track, which you know your dog likes sunny hard and likes sunny muddy right now. So if you're running on a sunny hard in a mid and you have a natural mid runner, you're going to still win those races just because you caught the right preferences. Running off preference will have negative impacts on your hound's performance. So if you, for instance, have started winning more on rainy wets, then we're going to know, okay, I'm dialed in because my times are looking good on rainy wet tracks. I'm maybe not winning them, but I'm getting better at running on rainy wets because I have the right rabbit when I'm running off preference.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I still need to put my hounds, continue racing them and trying to find that preference, because I really want to start moving on with it. I mean, what other, I guess, advice would you give on progressing with my kennel aside from just trying to find the preferences for all my hounds? I mean, and then some of them, should I even really focus on some of them? Say for like this one compared to like Dasha or.
So your best 2 G4s are definitely going to be Katya and Dasha, your Cass and your Holly. Those are your big performers. But your Philip that you pulled from us, for instance, is one that you're going to want to learn.
Okay.
If that's the only one you're going to pull from our breeders, if you want to race for those physical packs coming up on the 15th, focusing on learning him in G4s and then training him with, good rabbit configuration, he's going to be racing for physical packs on the 15th in that race that we're building towards.
Yeah.
So he could be a good one to prioritize learning beforehand if you plan on training him. If you were going to, mint more racers during one of our streams before then and pull like a rare plus, then that would be the dog you would prioritize learning. So you kind of want to know what races are coming up that are worth winning in and focus on learning those hounds best. But your best 2 hounds right now are your Cass and your Holly. But the next race around the corner that has a prize worth winning is the one that your Philip is in.
Yeah. Whew, man. And then like it comes kind of or it does come natural for you to just look at a hound and say, yeah, no, this is not worth it. So I'm just gonna burn it, or I'm gonna re-roll it, or whatever. I
That
need to
took
get to that point.
about a month or so to kind of just see a hound and know whether I'm going to keep it and learn it, or I'm just going to burn it for a training credit or give it away.
No.
Sometimes I'll give them out just so people can burn them for training credits. Sometimes I'll give out, G4 hounds that I'm not going to focus on because I have enough G4s that I'm either learning, or the ones that I enter and prioritize putting in races to win, that I'm not going to be, as eager to learn some high-end G4s. That's where Sidney Cove is, who gave you those 2 solid G4s from his extremely rare Hickman. Those are really good G4s, but he has so many G4s, he's never going to learn every G4 he pulls. So he's comfortable giving those out to new players as high-end G4 runners so that they can have fun learning hounds, because he's more interested in pulling for those rare plus and extremely rare and very rare hounds. That's what he's hunting for when he's ripping hound after hound after hound. So when he gets these quality G4s, he'll give them away.
Yes. Okay. So, for right now, my main focus is not really to be building up my kennel and having more hounds. Just focus on the ones that I currently have, right?
I would learn how to learn hounds. That's probably priority number one. G4 is a great place for that. Once you're kind of confident and comfortable with your learning method that works best for you, that's when you could be like, okay, I've got an extra 100 Maddox sitting around. I want to rip, 5 or 6 new racers and try to pull for that rare plus so I can start learning a hound that's going to get me more competitive in these bigger races.
Rare plus. Okay. From more. Oh, and that's from the 15 rips, right? From like say Michael, for example. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to pull from like Michael, you could come rip some from Michael, or you could rip from your own in-house Jason. Just keep in mind, if you do rip packs in-house and you want to rip from your rare Jason, for instance, if you were to send them over to my kennel while I was live, or even when I was offline, because I'm, the one that referred you, I would give you access to using my Aller reroll breeder in my kennel. So you could mint a pack, send it to me, and that applies to racers or Whippets. So say, okay, I want to mint my Jason Whippets this month. Instead of opening them yourself and not being able to reroll, you can be like, hey man, I want to mint my Jasons. Do you mind opening them for me so I can potentially reroll them? And I'd be like, cool, man, send them on over. You can mint the packs, send me the unopened packs, and then I would be able to give you a second shot at a better pull, and then send the dogs back to you.
Oh, for even the Whippets, you said?
Even for the Whippets.
Okay, so I might end up just having breeding them from yours on the Whippets, because I did. I was
you could either mint
from
our Whippet. Yeah, we have our breeders. We have Whippets available. All Whippet mints get you in the entry for the random draw. I don't know how many physical packs they're going to do for Whippet breeding. It may be another 50.
Okay.
But they're going to do a drawing on the 15th for all Whippet mints. Every time a Whippet is minted, those are going to get entries for more physical pack drawings. And right now, we're not ripping any of our own breeders. We're allowing other people to mint our Whippets. And anybody who mints from us, if our name, so the Trailer Trash Mutts, gets drawn on the wheel for physical packs, we're going to have anybody who minted Whippets from us go on our own wheel and give those physical packs out to them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. When are you streaming again so I can start having some Whippets?
We'll probably go live, at some point, probably later this evening.
Okay. Nice. Hopefully I make that, and I'll just send over some Matic and get some Whippets, because that does. I was kind of interested in that too.
Absolutely.
Newcomers don't really need to know, I guess, the whole affiliate and cashback. I mean, unless they end up.
Once you hit your 2,000, that's when you kind of unlock your own personal affiliate link. You can distribute that out, refer your own people. Plus, it also gives you self-affiliation. So at that point, you're no longer really affiliated. You're still under my affiliate, and I still help coach everybody, but I don't get any affiliate kickbacks once you self-affiliate, and you get all your own self-kickbacks and a 33% return on anything you spend for minting breeders, racers, and training credits. You'll get 33% back on all your spending at that point. Plus, you'll get, affiliate earning when you refer people, and they're still in that first 2,000, that's a good way for you to onboard and get some earning. It's kind of a reinvestment of your time. Some people just hunt for affiliates, and that's the extent of it. They're like, okay, cool, you're an affiliate now, go spend a bunch of money so I can get money to get stuff for myself. I make sure that anybody who affiliates under me, because when you spend towards your own, you're kind of helping me with little kickbacks here and there. I make sure it's worth people's investment, that if you're going to affiliate under me, I'm going to make it well worth your time and your investment while you're building towards your own affiliate by helping you on that journey.
So all the kickback ends for you once we hit 2,000.
Once you self-affiliate. Yep. So I don't get any more paid kickbacks at that point. It's all just coming back to you and Kennel. And that's I'll usually help out here and there, like some of the guys will affiliate under me like, hey man, I really want to mint this breeder, but I'm only at 80 Matic. Is there any way you can help me with a little bit, or 80 at 90 Matic, and if they've minted racers and I've been getting affiliate earnings from them, I'll help them get that point, because I know if you're going to, mint the breeder, I'm still going to get a kickback afterwards. So I can help bridge that gap with some of their spending they've spent to help them chase their affiliates sooner. So some guys will do that, some guys won't. It just depends on who you affiliate under and how much they reinvest into their affiliated kennels.
Oh man. Okay. I guess shoot, that's a lot. Okay. Oh man, I definitely want to start getting a little more competitive. Yeah. Hopefully, once you start streaming, I can start having some packs ripped.
Yeah, and if you go down under the links, there's one more really, really beneficial tab, and that's the docs tab. If you haven't read through it yet, it's a great starting point. It shows the entire white paper with all of the details on just about anything you'd need to know, from racing, from breeder types. Like if you go to the Breeder Mint tab, it shows you all the categories of breeders and what each one's functionality is. So if you go into Muzzle Run Racing and expand that.
Oh, okay.
And now go under Breeders Mint. It'll show you each generation of breeders, starting with the reward breeders. Those are the OGs. Zab Judah breeders are the training rollers. Aller breeders are the pack re-rollers. Power-ups are the ones that give you that 3 days with no rabbit burning and the 3 days of kennel boosting. The auto breeders, frothing muzzles, muzzle gods. It doesn't have the tabs yet for workout breeders, burn breeders, or the latest generation. They haven't added those in yet, but it does show all of the ones that are older than that generation and give you those details. Gives you details on, base statistics, how to breed, collections, training program, racing, the different types, returns on everything. So it's got a lot of great information if you get some time to set aside and go through all of that. It's a great starting point for getting a deeper grasp. I read through the whole thing like 7 times when I started, just because I'm a data king. I love data. If the more info I have, the more comfortable I feel doing anything, especially when there's money on the line.
Yeah.
So I became very familiar with the Muzzle Run guide so that I had the best grasp on what I was getting into.
Well, that's good, because I was going to actually ask next to close it out, is that what forums and sites do you use to inform yourself on this game, aside from just the white paper?
This is really what I've used the most. MJ has his MJ Informatics website where he has various different games under the Web3 category. But yeah, he's got some tools on there. I'll link it in here. MJ, hold on, let me actually pull it because I always type it wrong. MJ Informatics, and I'll just give you the Muzzle Run heading. He has 2 separate categories here under Muzzle Run. Now he's got the dog pound, and that is a easier filterable tool of OpenSea. So it has some really good conditional filters on it, where you can search everything that's currently posted on OpenSea. You can organize it by stats. You can organize it by rarity, whether it's trained or not, whether it's been raced or not. You can filter it by whether it's named. You can filter it by racers versus breeders. So it's really handy for more easily navigating what's available on OpenSea. And his other tool is the Bloodline Rank tool. I dug into it a little bit early on, but unfortunately, he's not super familiar yet with Muzzle Run. He's dipped his toe in the water a few times. He owns some assets, but every single one of his racers on here doesn't have the correct information. There's still some inconsistencies with some of the places that he's ranked certain breeders. Like if you go down to the 176, for instance, and look at Merida, he has it as an 80. Yeah, so if you go down at the bottom, Merida's in there, and he's got it listed at 82 speed, 95 acceleration, 87 endurance, 92 consistency. There is no dog in the game with 82 speed. Merida's actually at 92 speed. He just has a typo there. So sometimes you'll be going through here finding dogs, and you'll find anomalies like that where the data is not quite accurate in the ranking category, but it is still a nice tool when you get started at for filtering dogs to see kind of where they rank overall, as long as the data is accurate. But once you see kind of a dog and you're like, hey, these are high stats, the Trinity is in the 21st highest overall of 378, you can click on it, and it'll be like, okay, Trinity looks good. You can then go back to Muzzle Run and look up Trinity in collections and see if the data is accurate.
Okay. So, here's the Zane original comment. Okay, 87, and you said 87 was the minimum, right?
Speed? 87 is the lowest possible speed. Lowest. Yeah.
Okay. Man. Okay. So, MJ Informatics, studying the white paper. Is there anything else that you use?
Other than that, it's just OpenSea for hunting for deals. And that's really it. There's really no other tools or resources out there that I've found. And then the breedersden.com, if you're looking to breed from outside breeders, they're the only website that offers that service.
What was it? breedersden.com?
The Breeders' Den, and I'll link that as well.
Okay. I think I'll just keep it indoors with you. Just go off of that, Michael.
Yeah, the Michael's a wonderful breeder. We have some high-end rares as well, and all hounds have, different productions of what they end up hunting for. So if you find yourself that you like Trinities and you like the way that they run, you could pull from our in-house Trinity, who's only 2 stat points overall less than Michael. She's one of the highest rares, the second best overall stat-wise, but I like the way Trinity runs more than Brooks. So I went out and hunted for a Trinity breeder. So if you ever wanted to pull for a purebred Trinity, then you'd be able to pull from Trinity to hunt for that purebred. Or if you wanted to just pull the highest overalls, you can hunt from Michael. We have different high-end rares for that. And we also have our high-end common breeders as well. If you ever wanted to pull for like Spotties or Brindles during like December window, then we have those high-end breeders for hunting for Spotties.
Oh yeah, I got the Trinity here. For the Trinity pool or breed.
Philip, yep.
Yeah.
Philip came from our Trinity. Yep.
Yeah. Man, and that's another whole thing that I need to learn about is
that'll be another long talk as far as bloodline prioritization.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, you know what? Content. So I guess that's all that matters. All right. Is there anything in closing that you want to say before we close this out?
The biggest thing is have fun with it. You don't have to start racing for money, and that's one thing I love about Muzzle Run is there's so many free races. I love hound discovery and the availability to continue to race for nothing, just to have fun with the game aspect. Have fun with it. Have fun learning your hound, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And once you've had your fun and learned your hound, start racing for money. That just makes it a little extra fun.
No, I know. Oh man, I can't wait to get to that point.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, I know. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And then I'll be catching hopefully your stream. Hopefully I'm not too busy during that time, but I really do want to pull some Whippets and maybe even just another hound. But
sounds like a plan, brother.
All right. Thank you so much for staying up too and then meeting up with me. It was a pretty long session.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.